and they're always like, down and out. I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, down and out about their haircuts.
Something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside Los
Angeles. I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Thank you so much for hanging out while and waiting, especially those who are actually hanging out in Joe Tillman's chat room for the program. For those who are listening on iHeartRadio, well, I guess you have no warning. I'm having some trouble with my headsets here. When we're going to be late. So if you are tuned in, thank you for the wait. Look, we're only 20 minutes late due to technical issues that seem to arise just about every fucking week.
Thanks, Skype.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Our phone number and my microphone amp actually needs to be replaced. My phone number is, or our phone number is 888-659-3727. We are live from Los Angeles and Vancouver, British Columbia. We are the Hair Loss Guys. I'm the founder of the American Hair Loss Association and the author of The Bald Truth and The Truth About Women's Hair Loss, the two most read volumes on the prevention and treatment of hair loss in the world, published in 5 languages. I say that not to sound obnoxious, but to kind of give you a little bit about my background and my credentials in this field. I am not some guy who's just decided to come on YouTube and talk about hair loss. I'm not some guy who's just out there, who started some sort of a podcast to talk about hair loss and the hair loss industry. I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. I'm also the founder of the American Hair Loss Association and the author, again, I said the author, and the founder of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. You have no idea how difficult it is to speak when you can't hear yourself through your headset, Joe?
Oh, I do know, because that happened a few weeks ago.
I did. It's horrible. But anyway, the show must go on. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, for those of you who are trying to figure out what the hell this is, for those of you who just stumbled upon us, whether it's sometime in the future, you're watching this as a podcast or on an internet broadcast on YouTube or on thebaldtruth.com, we are two guys that have been in this field, both hair loss sufferers, and we've been in the field for a very long time. We are here to guide you in the safest possible direction when it comes to anything and everything hair loss. We do not sell anything. This is not an infomercial. I have chosen to avoid having underwriters on the program, even though I spoke about an underwriter who came to me last week who offered a pretty insane amount of money for an internet broadcast. And while I kind of believe that, the product is kind of like, it's okay. I mean, it's possible that it could benefit some people. Unless MasterCard or somebody decides to come over and give us some money, I have decided to kind of avoid anyone who's in the hair loss industry as far as allowing them to advertise on the program. Now, a lot of you guys...
I haven't. You guys can call me.
Yes. Yeah.
I might have a different take on it, yeah. But you don't know until you ask.
Yeah, you got to ask Joe. Got to ask Joe. Let me see if I can somehow fix this. Check.
Did you? By the way, when you rebooted, did you hit the compression checkbox?
No, probably not. Let's see. Are you having a problem?
You're kind of fluctuating a little bit of hiss and a little bit of fluctuation.
All right. So now what I have to do, guys, as he asked me that, is I have to go into another computer through TeamViewer, by the way, if anybody knows what that is, and try to fix the audio settings for Joe.
Because it's all about Joe.
God, it may not let me fix it now. Let's see.
Don't know if you can do it while you're actually using it.
Check, check, check.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, it's off, so I don't know why I'm fluctuating. How is it now?
A little bit less hiss.
All right.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, it seems better.
All
Seems
right.
better. We'll see.
Right. It's very possible. Who knows? I mean, I'm looking at my levels. My levels seem clear and good, and it's very possible I may have to. I mean, my levels sound loud enough, right?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Do mine? Mine sound okay?
Oh, actually, they don't. Why is this
Yeah.
so low? There you go. That's why I couldn't hear myself. Guys, I just did the entire opening at like 1/4 of my normal volume. How come nobody in the chat room fucking said anything? Holy shit.
Because they want to see just how much of a circus this can become.
Unbelievable.
They got bets going on behind the scenes.
Unbelievable. Anyway, guys, so we're back. If you weren't able to hear me, guys who are listening on the radio or on the radio apps, we're here to guide you in the safest possible direction for anything and everything hair loss. There's some misinformation out there. People think Joe's some sort of a salesman, or that I am just a guy that collects checks from doctors to promote them. The reality is, for what we do and for what I do, we have applications coming in every single day from around the world. I've accepted, I think, a total of 70 doctors in, 18 years, and I've had to remove some physicians based on unfortunate circumstances, complaints. A couple of them actually died.
That's one hell of a complaint.
Yeah, one actually retired. Actually, 2 retired. And the applications that are coming in, sadly, are from mostly the turnkey guys in the industry. So that's the reality. There is no one who is making and who has made accusations over the years that would actually have the stomach to turn away the amount of money that I have been able to turn away. And I feel very fortunate that I'm in that position, because we are actually able to guide you in the safest possible direction and at least give you guys a good starting point to do your research. That's it. Remember, surgery is your last resort. We are here to tell you about everything you need to know if you are deciding to have surgery. You're going to notice that we focus a lot on surgery because the industry is so scary and so fucked up and so dangerous that while you are still being ripped off by certain devices that are being sold out there and snake oils and all that stuff, that's only money. And we will talk about that as well. But to be disfigured and to put down and to lose a lot of money, that is something that is truly life-altering. And that's what we want you to avoid. This field is more dangerous than it's ever been since I started, and I was first published in 1998. And it was bad then. But now it is bad on a level that, in my view, would have been incomprehensible when I started.
And the thing about it was, I just want people to know, it was bad then, and then it got a lot better.
Yes. And
then it's dropped into oblivion worse than it's ever been. And you said something interesting, we're not salesmen. And FSK said, well, Joe's a Durex salesman. One of the things about life is that...
Is a what salesman?
A Durex.
Durex. Oh, yeah.
Durex.
Yeah.
And one thing about, like I've been a salesman of some sort all my life, and I do consider myself a salesman now only because of the way I look at things. I look at things where, I look at things like, is it something that is worth my time? Is it something I believe in? Because if it's something I believe in, then it's something that I have no problem recommending to others, whether it be for, just to help others or for, if there's a commission or something. Not a problem with that. I've chosen not to go down that road in this industry because as a hair transplant consultant for 11 years, or almost 12 years with a couple of clinics, I never opted for that commission path. In fact, when I first started out, I insisted to be on salary, not even with bonuses, none of that, because I didn't want that commission to be an influencer in how I spoke to patients, because I was in the same position as a patient and I got suckered twice. And so I made that commitment to myself, that promise to myself, and that's how I carried myself forward ever since. But when I have been a salesman for certain products, I never, ever wanted to work with a product that I didn't believe in myself, a product that I didn't want to, use myself, or a product that I needed. And, with reference to Durex, it's only the Magnum Extra Large that I sell. So thank you for noticing that. And, thanks for the acknowledgement.
Yeah, if you're actually involved with them in any way that I don't know, if they have kind of like a slim version, you can send.
Was that too much of a build-up?
You can give me some samples. Anyway, phone number is 888-659-3727. To get to your point about being a salesman, in order to be successful in life, in anything you do, you have to be a great salesman. I was talking to my friend who's in the television business. He's a writer and he produced several really well-known programs. And his bottom line is, no matter what his art, no matter what his talent is, he has told me that essentially it all comes down to you're always fucking pitching. You're always fucking selling. You are a salesman. And that is in any business that you're in, whether you're a surgeon, whether you are whether you're a pediatrician, believe it or not, they have to have some sort of ability to sell themselves. Why come to them? There is always some degree of salesmanship in anything you do in life. That is the way that it is. So
yeah,
I was
going to say beyond actual professional, like you're always selling yourself in social environments. Everyone you meet on the street or at parties or engagements of some sort, it's always a sales presentation, a sales pitch, even on a subconscious level. Man, we could get really deep with this, but we're all salesmen at some level.
Well, I can tell you that I don't take being called a salesman as an insult. I think I am the ultimate salesman in this, and this is going to be taken out of context, where I don't sell anything in this field. Yeah. What I do is I sell the truth. I'm out there, and I don't sell the truth to the public. I allow the truth to be underwritten. What was that?
I just reminds me of something that me and a buddy of mine from school would talk about. It's like, I'm not selling you a product. I'm selling you peace of mind.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call, guys. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. It's Spencer Specs from the UK. How you doing?
Hey, Specs. How are you, man?
Who?
Hey, Joe. Come on, buddy. You know
How's it
me.
going? That just sounded creepy.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Really good. It's late here for me, but I wanted to give the show a call. Keep missing the Friday nights. Yeah, all good. All good here in the UK. Everything okay with you guys over there?
Everything is not bad. I had a hectic day, busy. I was actually down in Hollywood, and I had a rush here, which in traffic is absolutely insane. So I just made it on time, and then when I get here, all of a sudden, nothing works. And then Joe's stuff wasn't working. So
yeah, you started late. Hey, I was wondering what was going down, but then knowing you guys, you can pretty much fix anything.
Well, with a little
it comes together.
A soldering iron and a little duct tape, I can do just about anything. I'm a MacGyver. I'm a MacGyver of internet broadcasting.
Yeah,
and my day has been filled with basically. I've been on the. Aside from running a few errands, I've been on the phone to people in the UK, like in your neck of the woods in the UK, about half of my day.
Yeah.
Talking to all kinds of patients and people and, all kinds of stuff going on. So it's nice to, I got to tell you, Specs, I got to hand it to you. My hat is off to you. You deal with.
By the way, Specs, turn down your speakers.
Mine went up.
Yeah, you deal with probably, I'll say, the toughest market in the Western Hemisphere.
It is the ugliest market in the Western Hemisphere.
And when I say toughest, I mean the worst.
Yeah.
Like there are some players in your market that are just real pieces of dung, just dredges of society. I mean, it's amazing what you're dealing with. My hat's off to you. I really don't see how you do it.
It's all fun and
well
games, no doubt. It's all fun and games, but hey, it's nothing that we don't have to deal with from patients from all over the world, you know. But yeah, for the UK right now is obviously getting quite a lot of media attention for all the wrong reasons. Hey, there was a big thing that went off in from the BBC doing a documentary on following a patient or patients going to Turkey, which is quite a big reveal, really. And it's going to be interesting to see how that patient's results transpire. But, you know, all power to the BBC. They did it for good reason. There's obviously, as you are well aware, guys, there's an epidemic going on here right now with such a high number of UK guys traveling over to Turkey, and their main incentive here, because they're well aware of hair transplant surgery, they're well aware of there's very, very good clinics here in the UK. However, it's much more affordable to go over to Turkey, and they're prepared to potentially sacrifice or jeopardize the end result for the sake of saving a few pounds. And on the end of that documentary, it was really interesting for you know, all the Bald Truth readers or listeners even to, you know, just Google BBC documentary Turkey, because the guy at the end of this documentary at this moment in time, they've got to follow up. I think he's 3-4 weeks post-op. He says, well, if it doesn't go well, I'll just shave the whole thing off. And it's like, it's just not the right mentality to go into a hair transplant with, because
it's also not reality.
He's not going to be able to shave it all off and just get away with it.
Yeah, and you said something interesting. You said that, you know, people are prepared to make a sacrifice based on price, and they're not prepared. They don't realize that they're making a potential sacrifice. They are being sold this concept that going to Turkey, and again, I don't want to blanket all of the Turkish doctors and paint them with the same brush. There are a handful who are doing it legally, who are or doing it correctly in the
well said.
Yeah, in the Turkish market. Most of the guys who are doing it legally /or correctly are also charging more, and you know, but the way that the market has opened up, and all of these essentially turnkey slave labor mills are popping up everywhere. Sadly, the millennials are really taking that and running with it, and they're going on YouTube and on other places, and these companies are then infiltrating the message forums and all of social media, and people believe, and this all stems from the 70s and 80s, when, you know, you were seeing, you know, the hair flying out from the back of someone's head into the front on the old, you know, Bosley infomercials, or the back of, you know, muscle magazines, when it looked like it was, you can distinguish a hair transplant surgeon from a toupee shop. It all started with that commoditization, and now it's kind of been magnified to the point where surgery is absolutely made to look like, especially hair transplant surgery, that it's one size fits all. It's easy. Anybody can do it. You do not have to get it done in the States or the UK or anywhere in the West. You can go someplace and get it done extremely cheaply, more grafts, and the same results. And maybe there's a handful of guys on YouTube that have decent results, and they're putting it out there. And all of these sad guys who, listen, if you can't afford, you know, a decent car, then, you know, that makes sense. You go and you buy a junker. But you don't do that when it comes to cosmetic surgery.
Indeed, completely. And you know what? For the guys that they watched that BBC documentary, it was fascinating. An insight even for me, who has lived, breathed, eaten this industry like you guys for the past decade. How, you know, I didn't realize there were so many Turkish clinics, but they revealed there's over 300 clinics performing hair transplantation.
I actually think they're wrong about that. There's more.
I do too.
Yeah.
When I was there in 2015, they were talking about there being 500.
Yeah, there's about 600 now.
Yeah.
Well, don't believe everything you hear then, hey?
Yeah.
However, then they caught obviously good clips, and it's all in the editing. But how, people are just roaming around, like hordes and hordes and hordes of people, like having, with hair transplants, fresh hair transplants.
It's amazing.
Dude, listen, when I was in Turkey, I think I was in Istanbul twice in June 2015.
I remember that documentary you did. That was really good. Definitely.
Thank you. But the thing that I thought was just amazing was when I was in the hotel. I can't remember if it was the first time or second. I think it was the second time I was there. I was in the hotel, and I went downstairs for breakfast, and there were probably 5 guys in the breakfast area with bandages on their head. Obviously, just had an FUE the day before or a couple days before at the most, and they were all from different clinics. And I approached one guy, and I started speaking to him, and he had trouble with English. I think he was from one of the Baltic states. I forgot where, but the first thing that he did after he realized I was talking to him about his hair transplant is he asked for my number and said that he would have someone from the clinic call me to help me, with my own hair transplant needs, because he was going to get a commission. And that's what they tell their patients. It's like, you send us someone, we'll give you commission. And the guy, he was still in Turkey with his hair transplant. He had no clue what it was going to turn out like. And what was interesting, and I want, yeah, he's already selling it. He's like, well, I'll pay off my hair transplant before I even get out of town. But I want to circle back to the BBC documentary that you brought up. I thought that was really interesting. It was a bit short, it didn't have, I think, enough information, but there are a couple things about that really stuck out to me. And the first thing was that this guy that went to Turkey, if he had come to me when I was a consultant, I would have turned him down. And the reason why is he's 26 years old and he still lives with his parents. The second reason is because he had no clue what he was getting into, and it was like going to the dentist to him would be a more involved affair.
Spex's first response was, "What's wrong with living with your parents at 26?"
Well, I was just going to say, I'm 43, and my mum can't get rid of me. But I hear you loud and clear. That guy had no idea what he was getting into at all, and it's car crash TV, But I was actually involved at the early stages of that production. I had the journalist there, the Tiffany Sweeney. She contacted me to get patients that were prepared to speak and for her to follow through the procedure and go to Turkey. Now, as you well know, getting a patient that's prepared to talk and go, on camera is very, very difficult to find. So they obviously found a patient that possibly wasn't completely fully aware of what he was getting into. He probably didn't even, realize how much of a documentary or the exposure that particular documentary was going to get. I don't know.
Very possible.
Well, you were just on the BBC talking about this. Now, one of the people from the documentary, was that the guy that led into your?
No, the guy that was the first guy that got interviewed by the BBC was a patient that went to Turkey a couple of years ago and didn't have a very successful surgery done.
Yeah.
And he was actually local in the local region to where the radio station was. It's called Radio BBC Berkshire. So that was just fortunate to get that guy.
Well, what he said was, and guys, you can actually watch it. We're going to be uploading it to IHRS. I'm just having it transcribed for everybody, and Specs did an incredible job. But when you could hear this guy's voice, and even though now he's been repaired, he went through a tremendous ordeal, and like he said, he was desperate. He thought he had an opportunity to save a lot of money, and he said he essentially threw out. It only cost him $2,000 for his initial surgery, 2,000 pounds for his initial surgery, but it caused him a world of pain. And then he ended up having to spend another $5,000 to get it repaired.
Yeah, but how common is that? I mean, his story was just one of so many that, you, me, Joe, here on a daily basis. So, yeah, I mean, he was very articulate in putting across how emotionally it affected him as well as physically. But it's just unfortunate, and hence why we do what we do, to try and essentially empower and educate and inform patients so they don't make the same mistakes that, you know, James, who was on the BBC radio interview, did. And let's not forget, like Joe did and like I did, we were both started out this journey and do what we do now because we were repair patients.
Yeah, I was the only one out of three of us that somehow had the wherewithal to step back and say, there's something wrong here. Yeah, my hairline's a little fucked up and I have a little bit of balding crown, but where are you going to put the hair? You know, how is this going to work? I'm just losing my hair. I never forget, I mean, it was Norman Orentreich, the grandfather of hair transplantation. He said to me, I'm going to repeat this because it's important for people to hear, that if you were my own son, I would suggest that you try a few grafts and see if you like them. This was in the days when they would have given me 4-millimeter open wound hair transplants.
Specs, I don't know about you, but I remember when we were in Los Angeles visiting Spencer about 5 years ago. I remember after about half the bottle was gone, he wouldn't stop talking about how he never got it and we did, and he's smarter than we are.
No, I
didn't. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't. Yeah. We were talking. We were talking about a lot.
Story was telling us how much smarter he was. You know?
I only had one beer before that happened, dude.
I tell you what, that was a big night on the. I didn't expect that to go as large and as powerful as that night went.
I was actually very impressed by both of your professionalism when it came to drinking.
Yeah, I was just really impressed with how you kindly found me a sheet to sleep on your sofa that night. Yeah, you were a team player, Spence. You know, you weren't going to just let me hang there and freeze to death.
Dude, there's no way I was
going to... down in your pants and tuck me in. Thanks, buddy.
I'm wearing my boxer shorts and I tucked them in, you know.
No, that was brilliant. But, you know, I mean, with going back to with regards to, you know, try a few hair transplants and see how you get on. Well, Durex sent me a load of small condoms. I tried them, but they were just too big.
Right.
So, you know, it's a case of that mentality. But, you know, the naive consumer, the naive patient can think, oh, right, okay, well, it's like this guy that was on the BBC documentary. He did not really understand clearly what he was getting himself involved in. And unfortunately, there are just so many countless guys that are just uninformed, vulnerable, desperate, want to hear what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear. And, you know, like Joe said, that guy should have just been turned away. Come back in a year, do your research, come and watch a surgery, see what actually is involved, meet patients that have had the surgery. You know, he clearly had no idea whatsoever. And, you know, I think the BBC took advantage of him there to a degree, but at the same time, I know how hard it was for them to find a patient that they could follow and document the process. So it's just it's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Well, you know, essentially, they knew this guy, they knew what was happening in Turkey, and they kind of allowed the guy, you know, the lamb to go to slaughter in order to get this piece done. And I understand that aspect of it. You know, that's journalism. Who are they to say, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this? That's their job is to follow this guy's journey, even though the producers know he could get fucked up.
I actually think the producers probably didn't realize that, or maybe they were counting on that. Who knows? Because it does make for good documentary storytelling. But you know what I think should have happened. The way I think it should have been done is to have a doctor from the UK go with them, accompany them, as some sort of like, you know, supposed family member that's just there for support. And then report on the conditions, because man, when I saw that the table hole where the kid's face was sticking through, and they put the camera underneath, that material was soaked with previous patients' blood. What the fuck is going on in this place?
Yeah.
I've seen this before in clinics that I've been into, and it's like, it's medieval. It really is medieval. And what's sad is that clinic knew that the BBC was coming, and they were excited as all hell. Let's make sure this place is tip top, and that's what they came up with. That's their best case scenario for going in. God knows what the everyday patient gets when they go in when the BBC or any sort of cameras are not rolling.
The whole place would have been cleaned and polished, but I mean, they clearly forgot to change the sheet under the bed there. So like you say, Joe, it's like, what the hell potentially on an average day in that place goes down? Hey?
Think about the possibility of infection, disease, different, flesh-eating bacteria, all the possibilities that can occur when you're in an environment, even when you think you are in a clean, sterile surgical environment. What can go wrong? Imagine what can go wrong in places like this. And the fact that there are consumers, there are human beings out there. This is what, like when I'm driving on the freeway, I look at people. The internet's changed everything for me. I think most people, sadly, just based on the way the internet, things that are happening on the internet, you don't know who's a sociopath. You have no idea who's some sort of bizarre sex fiend. You don't know who's a complete idiot. When I think of anyone signing up to go to Turkey to have surgery, sight unseen, and then actually seeing the facility and going through with it, I'm like, holy cow. I mean, you could sell anything to anybody in this world if they're desperate enough.
And it's happening.
And it's happening.
And it's just a testament to how desperate, or how many desperate people there are in the world, because of how many they're actually going through that.
But you know what's really sad? It's one thing, I say a lot of these, this is a different part of the world. They have a different mentality, sadly. Not everybody, I don't want to paint all the Turks with this broad brush. There's some very ethical doctors out there. However, that stuff is happening, believe it or not, right here.
Yep.
And, I mean, in Los Angeles, within a 3-mile radius of Beverly Hills, in Westwood, in West Hollywood, in Culver City, in Koreatown, there's a place. There are 80 turnkey machines now. 80. That are now competing with real hair transplant surgeons. And you know what? They're fucking winning. And what these guys do is they roll this thing out of the corner, and these texts fly in, and people are signing up. I go down to the 76 station to fill up my car, and there is a kiosk over the gas pump that has a sign for a guy doing the NeoGraft procedure. And if you take a card and bring it in, you get 20% off. That is what the hair transplant industry is today.
They still have a 76 station near you?
They do.
I thought they closed down.
No, I have
by BP.
I have 3 76 stations, right on Santa Monica.
Unbelievable. That's just unbelievable that people could be that naive to go and think, I get a coupon and get 20% off a surgery which obviously they know nothing about, but obviously it's dawned on them, oh, yeah, I want to do something about my hair. But, I mean, with regards to what you're saying, Spence, yeah, regardless of Turkey, there's definitely, a number of good Turkish clinics out there. Yes. But it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's just amplified in Turkey because of the whole tourism industry package that comes with it.
It's
epidemic.
An epidemic here in the
It's epidemic in the UK as well, like Joe just mentioned. Yeah. It's going off,
And you know what? It's funny because I was just asked to write an article for the Hair Transplant Forum International which is the ISHRS's journal, about the current state of the industry. And
this is not open to the public. It's a private journal.
Right. And I essentially spelled everything out and also spelled out what the solution would be. And the editorial board came back to me, and while they complimented my writing, they essentially, I'm going to say this publicly, and I'm writing it, by the way, Joe, I decided to change my author's note to kind of make it a little nicer. But the reality is, they requested that I dumb it down, and that they believed that their membership wasn't sophisticated enough or prepared to be exposed to the truth that was written in the article, and that I would have to kind of like circumvent, certain things that were said to potentially not bruise egos. And my first response was, I don't care on a personal level. Like if I'm writing for Consumer's Digest or for whatever, I'm actually going to be writing something for a mainstream magazine soon. It's still in print, this magazine, so it's a pretty big deal. But I'll take whatever it is, to get published. You want to tear this apart, that's fine. But this is supposed to be a society that they believe they're in trouble. And I thought it would be a tremendous disservice to their membership not to provide them with the truth, perspective, and also hope that this ship could be turned around. So I essentially said, I'm not going to make any changes. And if you don't publish it, I know another journal who will. So we'll see what happens. But the reality is that these doctors know this is going on. And in my view, they're allowing it to go on by their collective inaction. And they're all like, well, what can we do? What can we do? And now they're all scrambling because they're losing. I know guys who are earning half of what they earned just 5 years ago. And they're hiring marketing teams and all this stuff. They're trying to figure out how to get more leads. They don't know how to compete. I'm like, we can turn the ship around in less than 2 years. Everyone just has to come on board with a single collective message. But sadly, it's one for all and all for one. You got to forget competing against each other. The real doctors got to have to forget about worrying about their real competition or their old competition. Now there's a tsunami that's coming in. This is the calm before the storm. No one even realizes the tsunami that is about to hit. These real hair transplant doctors are going to have to close their fucking doors. And you know who's going to suffer the most? The fucking consumer, the patients.
And you know what kills me about the ratio you just gave out, that there are 80 machines within a 3 square mile section around where you are versus these traditional, specialist hair transplant surgeons. These surgeons are doing high quality surgery day in, day out, Monday through Friday. These 80 units, they might be doing one a week, one every couple of weeks. Who knows how many they're doing?
Some of them are killing. Some of them are doing like 4 or 5 a week, I heard.
But here's the bottom. The loser is the consumer and the patient. The winner is the device manufacturer.
Absolutely.
Because they've got 80 units within a 3 square mile.
And I have to tell you, and I'm sorry, Specs, I'll let you comment on this. I honestly, the one thing that I wrote and that I've told people is essentially NeoGraft and SmartGraft and artists, they are not the enemy. It's apathy that's the enemy. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's the apathy of these fucking doctors and the industry as a whole.
Saw an opportunity.
The device manufacturers follow the path that these guys created. They opened the door. They actually left a key, in the door and allow them to open the lock, and that's it. And now they believe that they're impotent. The truth is, this can be turned around. And, sadly, a lot of guys, they're already suffering. I know a guy here in Beverly Hills. He had multiple places, some, actually outside the country as well. And I know for a fact that he's struggling significantly. He can no longer compete.
Yeah.
We have a couple of guys here in Los Angeles, like Paul McAndrews and Bobak, who are still killing it because they know how to utilize the right resources and their third-party credentials, and they're very likable, non-commercial type of. Well, I'm not saying that Armani is not commercial, but when you meet Dr. Bobak himself, he's a very likable, just genuine dude.
I refer to him as genuine. Yeah.
And also Mark Dower is actually right down the road from me right now. He's like, nothing's affecting his practice. But that's a rarity. All these other guys are just, they're really suffering. And in the end, I give it less than 36 months. The commodity of hair transplant surgery is just that. It's going to be more of a commodity than ever before. It's going to be like the concept like going in and getting your lips injected hyaluronic acid or some sort of filler. That's what people look at it as.
Indeed. Well, listen, guys. I mean, that analogy of the tsunami coming in. I mean, it's fantastic, and then that is the reality of the situation. I mean, here in the UK, the whole machine epidemic, I think, is it's not taken off quite like it has in the US. But it's only a matter of time. Hair transplantation in the UK currently is in the media for all the wrong reasons. However, what is going to be exciting is, as we know, in June, it's going to be great to see you guys over in Manchester. Just make me one promise that we don't get tucked into any Jack Daniels, because I don't think we're going to be any use to anyone.
Yeah.
No, we're hitting the pubs for some true English ales.
Yeah. I'm actually at a point in my life now, honestly, and this was like 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not drinking any dark liquor anymore. Those days are over. So I will have beer.
Those days were over when I left your house 5 years ago, buddy. I've not touched a drop since.
That's right. I mean, I think even the last time I saw you when you were here in L.A., I didn't drink. I mean,
no, you didn't. I certainly did.
Yeah,
you came in on red eye. Had to keep awake. But listen, guys, it is late. Talking of late, it's late here. I'm going to leave you guys, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, always
great to catch up with you guys. And as you well know, there's quite a lot coming down the pipe in the UK in terms of the media, in terms of getting the right message out there, hopefully, the bold truth talk. Joe, your head transplant mentor, hopefully is going to be getting a mention shortly in the UK media. And,
that's always nice.
It's a case of just keep doing what you guys are doing, because we can never empower and educate enough people, and the more people that can listen to this resource, the better.
Well, here's what I would like from you, Specs, and thank you for that, is, you have been a contributor to the Bald Truth, the UK, for a long time. We do not have the opportunity to do enough UK shows, and frankly, we don't do any live UK shows. I actually think that it is time. We don't necessarily have to go live because the time differences are difficult, but to get more direct UK shows into the till. If we can do a few live ones, that would be great. But the bottom line is, now it is the perfect opportunity to really get into the UK in a much bigger way. We have the infrastructure to make that happen. We have the ability to make that happen on several levels. And I think that there's just too much damage being done in the UK now that, it's not that I was ignoring it, but I wasn't really as aware of what's been going on as I should be until like the recent last couple of months. So I think it's time to really hammer it home.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's you've been putting out fires all over the place, and I think it's just apparent right now. The UK, as I said, is in the media a great deal for all the wrong reasons. You know me, Spence. It'd be a pleasure to help and be involved and spread the word. I remember we used to do a number of live shows, but as you guys know only too well, even doing live shows together with you guys over there is problematic. But I'm all ears, whenever you guys want to set something up for the UK live shows, or we'll do some more segments. I think it's important to, you've got a big kind of follower here in the UK, as you well know.
Right.
There's the Bald Truth, the IAHRS, are regularly feature in the media. UK guys are looking for a resource and resources to be guided, and I think the more we can get the message out, the more people that can listen, the more people that can listen to you guys as well and be made aware of you, then the better. So, on that note, guys, I'm going to leave you guys to... Yeah, listen, all good.
By the way, guys, I just want to let you know, guys in the U.S., you can check out specshair.com to learn more about Spencer Stevenson. And you can also find the UK broadcast on thebaldtruth.com. If for some reason, somehow you've been living under a rock and you don't know who this guy is, you should definitely check him out. So, Specs,
well, I appreciate that, Spencer. Listen, you guys have a great night and keep doing what you're doing because it's remarkable what you guys are achieving and how many people you are helping.
Oh, thank you, man. Same with you. I really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care, guys.
Okay.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Good night.
Guys, we have a line open. The phone number is 888-659-3727. I think that was a surprise and a very important call. I did not get a chance to view the full documentary. I was very busy yesterday. Actually, any of the documentary. The only thing that I was able to listen to was Spencer Stevenson, or Specs, on the BBC with the former Turkish, the patient who went to Turkey for his first hair transplant, who ended up getting repaired, I think, at the Harley Clinic in...
I didn't see that one.
You can listen to it. It's actually...
Is it a podcast or is it a YouTube?
No, it's just a video. It's a video. It's a audio that I turned into a video. It's on Facebook. Go to the ISHRS page. You'll see it. We're going to be putting it actually on iahrs.org so everyone could hear it because it's important. You know, you really get a good sense that the mainstream media is really picking it up. The mainstream media is really focusing on trying to find ways to help guide consumers in a safe direction. They are talking about the IHRS. They are talking about this program as this unfortunate guy from the UK. He found us too late. He found us after he ended up going to Turkey. But he did find us, and he talks about that. And I think that's very powerful and empowering for consumers. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, so we are live. If for some reason we don't get any more calls, we are not going to be live. We're going to call it a day because, frankly, that was a good segment that I can turn into a podcast, and that's really all you need. But if you have any questions, we are doing this program for you twice a week live so that you can call in and allow for others who are in your situation to learn from you, to share in your anxiety when it comes to hair loss, to talk about your concerns and your possible failures and your possible triumphs. The guys who have decided to shave their heads, we want to hear from them. The guys who may have had some bad hair transplants and have ended up getting repaired, we want to hear from you. Guys who are considering getting on medication, who are young, who don't know where to turn, we want to hear from you. So I'm going to give out the phone number again, the last time, 888-659-3727. If no one calls in the next 5 minutes, we are calling it a day. Jody? The
number for the UK is also 0203-3724-683. I know we've got a good listenership in the UK. It's early enough. It's part of the reason why we do the Friday show, so we can reach the UK, so we can reach Western Europe.
Well, it's like only like 11 p.m. now in the UK, right?
Yeah, it's going on 11. So I know a lot of you guys are up, doing nothing. You haven't gone out with your mates. You haven't gone to the pubs.
What time are the bars open?
Give us a call.
What time are the bars open in England, for instance?
Depends on where you are, but I think most places about 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's the only problem. LA is actually maybe changing to 4. But that's the one thing I miss about New York. When I was really drinking and having fun as a kid, places closed at 4.
FSK, who's in the UK, says 9:30. Maybe in some of the small towns and in villages, but not in the bigger cities. I know because I've been there. Stay up late. That's if you want to club the night away.
Yeah. All right, let's take a phone call.
All right.
Hey, you are on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. Nico. What's going on? How you doing?
Hey, Nico, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. We needed it.
Yeah, surprise, right?
How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How you guys doing? Okay?
We're doing all right, man.
Good.
We're doing all right. So, I mean, what do you think about that? What Specs is saying, and the whole BBC thing, and the fact that finally we're getting some traction, but as much as the mainstream media may cover this stuff, unless there's a continuity of message online, it just disappears. It doesn't make a difference. It's in one ear and out the other. Tomorrow, there's 200,000 of us waking up realizing we're losing our hair for the first time, and they didn't see that BBC documentary.
You know what I honestly think is that even if people are exposed to that documentary, there's always going to be that person who's going to still be naive, not do enough research, and be determined to fix their situation, still not realize how fucked up
most
it
of
is.
them
Go into
most of them seeing that documentary are like that.
Yeah,
it'll get through to very few people.
I really do feel that way.
And based on the way it was put together, it would be, in my opinion, I think it'd be very few. But if it helps one person, that's great.
Yeah, that's huge for sure. But there's always like that fucking. There's going to be a huge population, and no matter what age you are, if you're anxious, or self-conscious about your hair or your deal or whatever, you're going to say, "Oh, this is going to help me out," and they'll take the fucking risk.
I can tell you, and I absolutely think it's important. I appreciate the mainstream media coming to me as much as they do, or to the American Hair Loss Association as much as they do. But the problem is, and I don't think it's meant that they do it. It's just that this is such a unique field, and there's so many nuances that sometimes it's difficult when they're writing stuff down, even if they're recording stuff, to actually get the quotes correct or to get the thought out there in what I was expressing, or anybody in this field, to get it out correctly, because essentially they're writing a piece that has to flow, and they want to they're focused on a certain message when they go and start to write this article, and they want to keep that agenda. And I understand that. I'm a writer myself, so I know what it takes. I was recently in The Guardian, and there were a couple of misquotes, but also, one thing I think it's important, anybody in the UK, if there's any women listening, there was something written that stated that I'm basically saying that the main reason women are losing their hair is because of high androgen index birth control pills. They didn't even use high androgen index, but just birth control pills and cosmetics. That was actually misinterpreted. Cosmetics in general are not causing women's hair loss. I mentioned cosmetics as a way for women to camouflage their hair loss, and the reason that that this particular reporter didn't realize how many women were actually losing their hair, which is about 40% of hair loss sufferers, is because they are able to use wigs and hair pieces and extensions and the right cosmetics to conceal their condition, where guys really aren't, at least society doesn't accept us or allow us to do that. So that was really the point that was, I thought it was important to get that out there. It's not major, but for any women who are listening, and that happens all the time in the press. And like with this documentary, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure there were some mistakes made that were not intentional. But it was all about creating the agenda or sticking to the storyboard that they needed. Am I right, Joe?
You're absolutely right. And I just want to say that for anyone watching this video or the replay of this broadcast, I do have actually now the link to that BBC segment down below in the description of this broadcast. So when we're done, you can go down there and click on that and see what we're talking about. And you should really pay attention to the section where the subject of this documentary actually gets to Turkey and he's on the table. Look at look at the materials he's laying on. Underneath it's soaked with blood, stained blood from previous patients. That blew me out of the water. I had to rewatch it a few times just to see what I was looking at. It was insane.
I actually think it would be a good idea, besides having the link, to do maybe take a screenshot of that and post something in one of your videos, or at least get it out there, through social media.
I'm actually going to do my own video where I'm critiquing what's going on, and talk about I want to talk about the guy's case specifically. And I want to talk about the environment where he's getting the procedure and what people need to look out for based on what this guy's going through. Because there's several things that are wrong, several things that are red flags that people need to be aware of.
You're gonna get a lot of hate for that too, but whatever.
Oh boy.
They're still gonna miss the message. Like, Even though, it's like it's great that they'll turn away from Turkey, hopefully, or the turnkey in Turkey, the turnkey device in Turkey, they'll still be determined to get a hair transplant and not know how fucking involved it is, even if you go to a good doctor.
But here's the thing, and you're right, Nico. But like Spencer, so weird saying my own names. Spec said, and like Joe says, and like I. The reality is, we have a core following. Over the last 20 years, I know for a fact that we have helped. I mean, I've had millions of listeners and viewers and readers, but I know for a fact that there's a certain percentage of those listeners, readers, and viewers who took our advice. So we've been able to help a lot of people. We can't help. Sadly, we can't help everybody because there's a lot of desperate people out there. And frankly, this is going to sound, I don't know, politically incorrect. There's a lot of idiots out there too. That's just the way. That's the way that it is. You cannot convince them that they somehow want to look at the, again, they want to hear what they want to hear, and they somehow want to look at us as though we have some sort of incentive to talk them out of this. There's no incentive.
I never understood that.
There's no incentive for us, guys. Much more incentive to talk you into surgery.
It's like somehow we get paid if you don't have a surgery.
Yeah.
Never got that.
Well, Nico, so I know you got some questions. You got some time. Go ahead and ask them.
Hey, man. So hey, Spence, I think you might have mentioned this before about Joe Rogan and his scar. I don't know.
Yeah.
What is how well does plastic surgery work on a scar, a guy who's rocking the bald look, who's got a scar showing? Or laser or any of that shit?
You have to understand that once you're cut, you're cut. Now, plastic surgery or laser treatments can improve the appearance of scars. You can have a scar revision. In some cases, it works very well. But the best case scenario is that you will have an ultra-thin line of scar tissue across the back of your head if you had a strip. That is your best they cannot, at this stage, remove that. Now, they do have technology that exists that they're currently not using for these purposes, where there's something called essentially, I don't know if you guys saw this anywhere online or in the media, but there is, I think it was a German inventor, I may be getting this wrong, but they created this almost like an airbrush. It's like a gun, that acts like an airbrush, where they duplicate your skin cells, and then they spray them back onto burn victims. And within a matter of days, new skin grows back. So no more skin grafting, no more. I mean, this is not science fiction. This is already in existence. It's just not currently being utilized.
I wrote an article on this I don't know if it's still on hairtransplantmentor.com, but might have been a previous version, but I wrote an article about this. It was called The Skin Gun.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. God, it was like 4 years ago I wrote that. It's been around for about 4 or 5 years. And yeah, it was being used. It was tested at the time. I think it was, might be confusing it with another one, but it was at like Walter Reed Hospital or something. And they came up with it. It's brilliant device.
I mean, it completely, it doesn't just leave you with minor scars. It completely eradicates. And obviously, if someone is severely burned, it's not going to bring back the facial structure or the underlying muscles that were burned. But as far as the skin, it completely gives you new skin. Now, what I foresee is when they're able to get this on the market in a bigger way, it's going to be used for skin resurfacing, a lot of cosmetic stuff. Where like my hope is that when my skin gets really fucked up, I'm just going to be able to say, okay, burn off with a laser and spray this shit on me. And then I'll have a whole new face of skin, So in the future, I believe sooner rather than later, people who are scarred from hair transplant surgery will have more options.
That's cool.
To rock things out. But right now, as things, as things are, you have no options. And I would say that the worst case scenario are those who believe that they're going in for FUE and say, like this guy in the documentary, I could just shave my head if it doesn't work out.
Fuck no.
Instead of having a linear scar on the back of your head, you're going to have thousands of scars. Some of it can be a confluence of scarring on the back of your head and the sides of your scalp. These guys, in my view, are more fucked than someone who has a decent strip surgery.
Yeah. And so that's happening just mostly really in Germany that you know? That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's Germany. Joe can...
No, I remember I wrote this article based on someone in the U.S. doing this.
Yeah.
And I was looking for my article. I think it was 4.5 years ago. My site had to be rebuilt, and I lost some of the articles, and it looks like that was one of them.
Google skin gun. I mean, Jesus, how hard is it? Let me see right now.
Cool.
Let me see what we got here.
While he's doing that, Nico, what's the latest with you?
Pretty much, man, the same. You know, just trying to hold it together as far as fucking. I don't know, man. It's a hard thing because I'm like in a situation where I'm have to deal with possible repairs in both recipient and donor. Fucking. I'm not even at a year with Propecia, so I'm seeing how that works itself out. But it's just, I think, just the trouble areas for me are the fucking angles and, you know, with hair loss around it from the surgery and the donor's all fucked. So I'm just trying to be patient and not be, you know, turn into one of the crazies. So I'm just trying to let time do its thing, do more research, bug you guys like fucking mad with questions.
You're not bugging us. We love
my
you,
options.
Hold on, Joe. I'm sending you a link to National Geographic.
Yeah, I see some stuff on skin gun on the hand and shit. God.
Naked pygmies, cool.
Naked pygmies, yeah.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you something. When I was a kid, National Geographic was very helpful to me. I think that may be why I have an affinity towards darker skinned women. But you know, what am I going to tell you?
With rings around their neck.
You know.
Sorry, that's funny shit.
Yeah, dude, I can't.
I loved when I was a kid, National Geographic. I loved it for two reasons. Really, I've been in photography like since I was a kid, and I loved the quality of the photography. It was just really, you know, really sucked you into, you know, these exotic locales that the photographer would be in, and because you could see boobs.
Dude, when I got a hold of like a Bazaar magazine or a Cosmo from my mother, I mean, that's how old I am. Pornography was like, in order to get porn, it was like gold to try to get your hands on that shit.
Try growing up in New York City, where you could go to like a haircutter, any like hair barber, like one, for example, across the block, and they just have Playboy.
That's
Club, everything.
That's the first thing. Well, they didn't have Club when I was a kid. I had the first naked woman I ever saw was in the barbershop that I used to get my haircut as a kid, and they had Playboy, and she had a little fishbowl with a goldfish over her bush. All right, that's how old I am.
I remember that.
Yeah, and here's the link, Joe. You can put that in the thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 44, and I grew up with Al Goldstein on cable access, that kind of shit. Robin Bird, all that shit.
Robin Bird, man. Baby, let me bang your butt. She was awesome,
you know
man.
it.
How can I not know it, man? Dude, that was when we were kids, and you were seeing, like, interludes after midnight.
Exactly.
You know, I think Ron Jeremy was on that.
I'm putting the link in the chat room. It is not available outside of the U.S. Only U.S. watchers and listeners can check
back when I was a kid, it was the old Channel J, then it turned to Channel 35.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, me too, man.
And I would go downstairs to my buddy's house, whose parents were never home. We didn't have cable, by the way, as a kid. I had a black and white television, and the only way you could turn the station was with a pair of pliers.
Totally.
You know, but went down there. This kid, I thought he was rich, man. He had color television. You know, at the old home box office, you know, the big dial, cable box from the, you know, New York cable boxes. And we would just sit there and smoke Marlboro Light 100s because you got more, and watch the Robin Bird show and anything that was on Channel 35.
Oh, hell yeah.
Jesus.
Even before Goldstein and Interludes and Robin Bird, they even used to have, like, you know, Jimmy Vizino from Conan's band. He used to be on there. Like, it was a very entertaining fucking channel besides all the porn shit.
You remember Ugly George?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There were prank shows, exactly.
I fucking knew. I knew Ugly George. Ugly George used to hang. He used to hang out at the bar that I used to go to, and he would come in with his silver outfit and his whole camera gear after he just. I'm not going to say he molested, but he actually after he was able to talk a stranger to go into a fucking doorway and take her clothes off. And this guy was unbelievable.
Those were the fucking days.
Yeah, those were the days.
I Need Tim, all that shit, man.
Oh my god, I didn't realize you were that old. Dude.
Yeah, I know. I sound like a nervous young boy or whatever, but no.
I thought you were. We never discussed your age. I thought you were in your 20s or your 30s.
No, I sound like that only because when I get all anxious about my hair, I fucking regress into like infancy and shit. So no, and I was a teacher forever, so I can definitely put on the strong voice. But
well, it's not that you don't sound.
34.
It doesn't sound like you're not strong. You just you sound young, which is good.
Yeah, and I love fucking young.
Yeah.
But or at least trying.
That's good.
All right, one more question for you guys, and I can head out, and then hopefully someone else will call, or maybe you guys can call it a night. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty much amateur stuff, but I guess I'm still trying to, when I saw Dr. Dorn at one point, he'd recommended, and I know it's got a shitload of side effects and all the bullshit that comes along with continued uses, with oral minoxidil. Still trying to figure out, trying to make sense of how that shit works, because I know when you apply the topical stuff, it's a little bit more localized. I get that, or maybe I'm wrong, correct me, Joe, Spence, if you're doing oral, is it just hit all areas, and hopefully it will grow more hair, and where it's more of a slick, bald area? I don't know.
Dude, with oral, you can get hair coming out of your forehead.
Yeah, I've heard. Fuck.
You can get. I mean, it's a unique response to Lonitin, which is oral minoxidil.
Right.
Look, there's potential for it to be a really solid alternative for as a medication to help with hair loss. The problem, the reason why I don't take it, and I looked at this, I talked to Dr. Wong about this probably at least twice, and he had reservations about it, but in the end he's like, all right, well, as long as you know the side effects, go for it, and he wrote me a script for it.
Okay.
And I held on to that script for quite a while, and I decided I'm not going to do it. And the reason why is because I'm going to be 49 next month. And this was several years ago, but I wasn't 22. I'll just say that. And when you look at the side effects of just regular minoxidil, heart palpitations, cardiac related side effects, I just can't help but scream in my mind, fuck no. I can't justify a cardiac side effect for hair. Not going to do it. But and granted, the side effects are low, or the instances of side effects are low, but it's just that's my hump. Some guys can't get over the hump of potential erectile dysfunction. I can't get over the hump of possibly dying. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're also the reality is you're lowering you're lowering your blood pressure, or you could be to dangerous levels depending on where you are. Your average blood pressure, and also there are
diuretic, right? Yeah.
Say that again.
Oh, I said sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say you need a diuretic probably and all that shit.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing: you're definitely going to retain more water on the drug. So you will have to either, I wouldn't say use a diuretic, but you'd have to adjust your lifestyle to the point where you're eating. If you're lowering your blood pressure, you actually may need to increase your salt. But for some reason, this particular medication will bloat people. So you have to drink a tremendous amount of water. And then when you do that, in order to debloat and not eat a lot of salt if you want to not be bloated. But the thing is, if your blood pressure is low, you need more salt. So there's kind of like a catch-22. I don't think, minoxidil was found. It was, Lonitin, it was just like finasteride. It was discovered by accident. Guys who were taking this blood pressure medication and women were growing hair. And they're like, holy shit, let's give this a shot. And it was a big deal when it first came out. It was huge. It's like finally a drug that actually was proven to grow hair and approved by the FDA. huge disappointment for most people. But yeah, I probably would go with Joe's advice. I wouldn't take it, even though I know that I could probably potentially gain a little bit of ground as opposed to slowly losing ground over the years.
Right.
It's just not worth it.
But as aging men, you're already vulnerable. Fucking heart disease, heart attack, etc. All that shit.
My pop.
Wait a second.
My pop
Did you just say that?
took it.
Did you just say I was an aging man?
Me, I'm in the aging
Oh,
man.
okay.
My father actually took it for many years, and he's taking Lonson for blood pressure.
You thought the hair on his palms was from something else, actually.
He kept warning me. I'm like, but Dad, look at you. He goes, well, I'm not denying it. So, but no, in all seriousness, he was on Lonington for quite a while, and my mother told me this after he passed away because we were talking about this, and it all made sense to me because I was in the industry at the time, and it's like, well, that's why he lost all of his hair so fast. I remember that happening, and it's because his doctor had switched him to something else, off of Lonington to something else for God knows why, and all of his hair gone. He'd always been like a 5, maybe a 4, like really really thin or even bald in the front, strong bridge, and just a small patch in the back, and then it seemed like within a year or two he went to a 6. And I remember it being kind of like, what the hell happened to Dad's hair? And but yeah, that was it. That was my only real personal experience with Lonington was my pop. He was taking it. Didn't know it until after he was gone.
Damn.
Yeah, when my dad got really old and ill, I was like, what happened to his schlong? That's what I was worried about. I was like, what the fuck? I don't want that shit to happen to me. Anyway, listen, Nico, thanks for the call. I really appreciate it, and we appreciate you. I know you always say how much you appreciate us. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Love you guys.
All right, man.
Love the Roxbury guys looking for SNL in the studio in the background. Nice. And maybe you guys can do some head bops sometime, some coordinated head bopping. All right, guys. I'll look you guys another time next week. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk soon.
Take care.
See you, buddy. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. We have a line open if you want to call. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spencer and Joe. It's Dave from New York. How you guys doing?
Dave from New York. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm the Bloxham patient. I had you rate my transplant a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So how are you doing now?
How'd it go?
Things are doing very well. I'm noticing small, subtle changes, but I was talking to Dr. Bloxham, I think maybe about a few weeks ago, and, I was emailing him about my progress, and he said that I'm a slow grower. And it's hard to wrap my mind around that concept because all you see online are guys at 6 months with these great results, but, then they just have the other 6 months to mature.
Let me just tell you this, and this is nothing against Dr. Bloxham, because this is a general rule. This is basically the, the general terms that are used by people who are concerned at a certain point. You're a slow grower. So that is just what is said in the industry. It doesn't mean that you're not a slow grower, but every doctor who you would have addressed a concern to would have said the same thing.
Okay.
So,
but eventually, the standard 12 to 18 months is going to come, and then he's going to have to answer to, let's say I don't have a satisfactory result at 8 months, at 18 months. That time is going to come, and then what's he going to say then?
Well, that's when his boss. When his boss is going to step in and talk to you.
Okay.
So,
all right, but like
yeah.
But like I said, I do notice. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Here's my take on the concept of a slow grower. First off, 18 months, in my opinion, is what clinics in general will tell you. To make you go away for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. 18 months between 12 and 18 months, you will see some differences, but it's textural differences. It's not growth.
There will be no, in my view, based on my experience of speaking with thousands upon thousands of patients and seeing surgeries and speaking to doctors and, people and whatever. There's no new hair that's going to break through after 12 months.
That I understand. I understand that.
Yeah.
What my understanding is that past, let's say, be generous, 11 months. Past 11 months, you're just going to see textural changes, like you said. The hair will get thicker, and areas will start thickening up. There won't be any new sprouting. In other words, that's what I'm expecting.
The terminal hairs will continue to become, the hairs that are sprouted, even the later sprouted hairs, will start to become terminal hairs. The textural changes could range anywhere from the initial hair that you actually that's visible, usable, combable hair could be of different texture than your original hair, and that can then begin to change. Or it may not change. It may always stay that different texture. But there will be various changes that you will see between the 12 and, even up to the 2-year mark, in my experience, as far as textural changes. But as far as if a gap is going to grow in after 11 or 12 months, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, it ain't going to happen. Yeah, that's what I figured. But you know what? Like I said, my hair is okay. It just needs to thicken up. It seems pretty thin. The areas that I was concerned about that didn't have any hair in them, they have hair now. It's just very weak and thin hairs. And also, at 6 months, like I said, guys are usually pretty, impressive at 6 months. When I was at 6 months, when you guys looked, remember the first time you guys evaluated my hair?
Where are you now? I forgot. How many months now?
I'm 9 months now.
So you're 9 months.
9 month mark.
Okay.
9 months. Yeah.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but what's your major concern at 9 months right now?
At 9 months, things are looking a little thin. I'd like for it to just thicken up a little bit more. It looks like I have a thinning, diffuse pattern hair loss on top.
Well, in all fairness, it is possible that it's very possible that you're going to see an improvement. So that is not. I don't believe that you're being misled in any way as far as that's concerned. And I also don't believe that you're being misled at all. I just think that the general way that all doctors operate in this field is to give you the line that it can take up to 18 months and that you're a slow grower.
Yeah.
That is just the way that it works. It's almost like in the textbook. It's like if someone, as soon as these guys walk into the office, it's almost as though they were giving a pamphlet on how to deal with patients who have your type of questions or potentially unhappy patients.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, first tell them everything looks great. I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't work. Mm-hmm. B, actually, you're a slow grower. And, worst case scenario, we can give you a top-up or a touch-up, in the end if things don't work out. C, if you come in at 12 months and everything's fucked up, they'd be like, there must be some sort of physiological issues that are occurring.
The X factor.
Sure.
Yeah, the X factor. We don't know what's going on. If it's 15 months or after and you're like, what happened? Then it's like you may hear from their lawyer, or they may give you a refund, or they may offer to give you a free surgery. If you push it too much, depending on the clinic, they may threaten you with a lawsuit, or it really depends on the individual.
Yeah.
So that's just the reality of this industry across the board. So this is not something that you're dealing with. It's isolated to the doctor you're going to. I want you to know that.
I'll say this. I remember your photos from I think it was a couple months ago. You sent them in. It's like this. I didn't even hear the term "you must be a slow grower" until probably a few years in my career when someone said that that's what a doctor told them when they were on a forum talking about it. And what Spencer was saying is absolutely correct. It's almost like there's a pamphlet that most of the clinics go by. Okay, well, this is what you do at this stage, and they say this. This is what it's uncanny. In my personal experience, I will tell you that from 12 months onward, you're not going to see any more growth. Will you see some more thickening? Maybe, but it's not going to be a night and day difference. I don't want to bullshit you about this. It's not going to be like a complete, you're unhappy now, and then 3 months from now you'll be like, holy shit, this is like completely different. It doesn't work like that. You might see small incremental improvements. Will it be enough to make you happy? Could be. I don't know. I'm not in your head. I don't know what it needs to do for you to say I'm happy with this.
Joe, would you say at 9 months that most guys are pretty much can recognize what the end result's going to be?
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean,
say most.
Essentially, I would say that the scaffolding is there. You'd be able to see.
Yeah, and there's
everything.
plenty of scaffolding to be happy.
Yeah.
And also being the kind of nervous wreck that I am, figuring out when Dr. Bloxham told me that I'm a slow grower, what's the first thing I did? You go on the forums and you see, you type in slow grower and see what the story is.
Don't go on the forums.
Well, dude, please. Like, I'm not going to do that? Come on.
I know.
You could say that all day.
Look, I have a forum. It behooves me, to have you guys come on the forum and give me more traffic. That's wonderful. So I even tell people not to go on my forum, except for maybe once a week. Check in, read some stuff real quick. Do not spend a lot of time on there because it'll drive you out of your mind.
However, I did dig up one positive thing, and speaking of Specs has a couple of videos about hair transplant, growth times and how you got to be patient. And he said, don't even consider evaluating the full result between 12 and 18 months. So that made me feel kind of good. I mean, he's got no stake in the game. He's not a doctor. And
he doesn't, and he actually is correct in a sense as far as like the like we said the textural changes and all that stuff. Also, you have to understand that Specs he wants to make sure, as we do, that people are feeling as confident as possible through this process, because there's no reason to say, hey, you know what, you have a 90% chance of this being it, or whatever. There is a chance that at the end of the game, at the end of the waiting game, that you're going to be 100% satisfied. So what Specs is telling everybody is true. Yeah. And he's going online, as we do with the show, and as I like people to do who use my forum, to help to allay people's fears so they don't have to be anxiety-ridden while they're going through the growing process. So is it possible that at 18 months you're going to walk away and say, holy shit, I've really come out ahead of the game after 18 months. They were absolutely right. That's a possibility. Is it a reality? You know what? I'd say you have a 50-50 chance.
Right. And then, again, like I saw a couple of videos Dr. Feller made. He showed a guy that had no growth at 6 months. He came into the office. He was very upset. And then he came, and then actually it was, I think it was 10 months this guy came in. He had like no growth in the frontal portion of his head. And then he came back at 14 months, and then he had it all popped in. So
I guess these cases do happen, but that's pretty rare. I'd have to look at this video. I mean,
I'm sorry, 10 months there was no growth, and then 14 months it all popped through?
You could fact check me all day on this. You go, I think type in Dr. Feller slow grower on YouTube, and you can find it. I could be wrong about the timeline, but it's something like that.
I'd rather not, but I'll say this. 10 months?
Yeah. Well, not now, obviously.
No growth. And then if it even if it was 6 months no growth, and then 14 months, that's really rare for someone to say at 6 months this guy had no growth, and then X number of months later, now there's great growth. That is really
whatever it was. The guy was complaining at a certain point where most people have hair. He was saying, "Where's my hair?" And then he came back at a later point, and he showed that he did indeed grow hair. So
and I want to make it clear, the guys in the chat room are asking. The fact that Dr. Bloxham is not in the IHS has nothing to do with his skill set. He doesn't have enough cases to apply to the organization, and frankly, Dr. Feller is really not, at least according to him, performing surgery anymore. So that is, that's just the way that it is. If Dr. Bloxham at some point in 2 years applies to the IHRS, I have no idea if we would bring him on board or not. But he just doesn't have enough time on tissue. Does not mean that he's not good at what he does. I just wanted to make that clear. I don't know if you're watching the chat, caller. Go ahead.
And Dr. Feller isn't on the IHRS either, and he's a pretty good surgeon. I mean, he's a pretty well-respected guy.
Yeah, but he's not working.
That's true. He isn't working.
Unless you're performing, if someone goes to Alan Feller based on him being a part of what we do, and then ends up having surgery with Dr. Bloxham, that's not good on our part. You know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do.
He's not performing surgery, right? I'm sorry.
From what he tells me, he's not. So if someone tells me that, then what are you going to do? Right. And from the guys, almost every person now that is going to Feller Medical seems to be having surgery with Dr. Bloxham. So that's just the way that it is. And you know what? Dr. Bloxham is trained by a really good surgeon. I have a lot of respect for Dr. Feller's, skill set and for everything that he's contributed to the field as far as, really getting a lot of good information out there online. And, that's the way that it is. When you first called in, you were very defensive about Dr. Bloxham, as though we were going to somehow bash him because he wasn't part of what we did. But I wouldn't do that. I mean, I'm assuming that if he was trained by Dr. Feller, then he's probably pretty good.
You know what it is? I was kind of defensive of myself because I didn't want you guys to send me off on an anxiety tailspin for the rest of the 6 months I have to wait for this hair transplant to come in, So it wasn't like really protecting him. I was just kind of protecting my own emotions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I understand that, and thanks for saying that. And yeah, I mean, look, this show is not about the one thing that I hate. I hate it when I see it on the line when someone puts up their images and then these anonymous people critique their images, and these people either signed off to allow the doctor to put them up or they put them up themselves. And they're in a position like you, they're very vulnerable. They may have only been out 3 or 4 months out, and they're being told they had a shit surgery. I mean, or whatever. This was a shit doctor. Anyone who is not in that chair and not there that day has no fucking right, in my view, to comment on what happened, during the surgical day, whatever it is. Let the patient discuss it all he wants. That's fine. But to make somebody anxiety-ridden when they don't really know the situation, they're just seeing pictures, or they're just providing an opinion, an anonymous opinion, I think that's very unhealthy.
I'll tell you what, I actually saw a case like that yesterday. This guy was posting his results. I think he's close to a year out or something, and he was saying that he's happy with the result. He's happy he went through the procedure, and it's a long time coming, and all this. It was a big journey, right? And this guy comes on, and I usually don't say things like this, but this guy was a piece of shit to tell this patient.
This wasn't on my forum, was it?
No, it wasn't on your forum. It was some other forum. No offense, but this is far from what you should be, expecting at this point. And just goes on, just drags the result through the mud. And I'm like, the guy is happy. And, I've been in that position where people have publicly ridiculed my hairline. I mean, people do that today, and like on my YouTube channel, and I got these videos about hairlines, and people are like, "Well, you should talk 5-head," or stuff like that. I don't care about that.
I have people saying that either I had a bad hair transplant, I'm wearing a wig, or I never had a hair loss. Make a fucking decision, guys.
Yeah, exactly. But back when I did have a bad hair transplant, or 2 bad hair transplants, people talking about that to my face, especially in front of others. I mean, you want to talk about feeling like you got punched in the gut. It's a feeling that's, in my lifetime, has been unlike any other.
Yeah.
And so for someone to be, they're all anonymous, but to share his photos online, he had his whole journey laid out, and everyone's like, yeah, good for you, and that's all nice and everything. It's nice to get the support. But then for one piece of shit to come on there and start just ripping it to shreds.
Well, I can tell you this. For any
pisses me off.
forum
I can't stand
owners
that.
who claim that all of this stuff is allowed because of transparency, I can tell you this. Real transparency is, A, when you have no PMing system, because everything that has to be posted has to be out there. And also, real transparency is saying, look, motherfuckers, this forum is going to be heavily moderated. You cannot try to destroy the life or the time of in someone's life by, harming them with your words, by saying things that this person does not need to hear. Maybe in the end, the transplant's not going to come out great, but why make this guy any more anxious? We just don't allow it. It's not going to be done. And I've been heavily criticized for that, like it's some sort of censoring, or censorship. We're not censoring. It's not censorship. It's a private. This is there's no free speech when it comes to let's put it this way. Users of a private business are not protected by the First Amendment.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. We, as a private entity, have the choice to see how the flow of information, what's being put on these public forums. And those who choose to allow extortion and ridicule of patients and ridicule of doctors and all this stuff. I'm not talking about a real complaint. I'm not talking about someone has a complaint and then that complaint goes through a process and then it's put live and then eventually the doctor's office can come in and make a comment. But I'm talking about threads, pages and pages of ridiculing a doctor. Anyone who allows that, I can tell you, is not doing it because they're altruistic and because they really want true transparency. They're doing it for numbers, they're doing it for traffic, and they're doing it to maintain a level of control, to pump the fear of God into those that are paying them.
Mm-hmm.
So that they... go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, but, the touchy thing there is, that patient went on that site specifically to get an honest critique of, whether or not he's, giving himself over to the wolves. He still went on that site and opened himself up to a critique. And just because the moderator doesn't like the reader's critique of that guy's particular hair transplant, I mean, do you think it's fair for them to censor? I can tell
you this, that being someone who owns a message forum, I know for a fact that some people who have critiqued hair transplants on Bald Truth Talk have actually been the competitors' lackey or the physician themselves.
Sure.
For a fact. So we had to make a rule across the board. And it is a hyper-competitive, toxic industry. So what you think you're reading, you don't know what the fuck you're reading. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know if it's coming from also the moderators or the people controlling the forum to create controversy.
Right.
That happens.
And I'll say this, and this might come like after this broadcast gets back into like once it's processed and we're done and it's out there in perpetuity, I know that people might come to me and say, well, you critique results all the time, or you have videos where you've critiqued, or people have called in and like you yourself, Dave, and you've critiqued. The difference is you personally, when you're calling in, you're asking me to critique. You're asking Spencer to critique. The guys in the forums,
in general,
they're not thinking that through.
Yeah.
They're like,
okay,
I'll document my process, my progress. They're not thinking about the downside of it. They're not thinking about these guys coming out and lobbing, insults and critiques that will be less than what they realized they were going to be getting, because no one's expecting it to turn out bad.
And that's a good point. But if someone comes out and says, I want an honest opinion about my hair transplant, that's a different story. Hey, had this hair transplant, just have at it. I want an honest opinion from all you users. Then they are setting themselves up. They know what they're prepared to potentially get a response that they're unhappy with. Most people who are being critiqued aren't asking to be critiqued.
And that's why we're setting, this. It's not like an official segment, but that's why we're calling it "Rate My Hair Transplant," because you're calling in to have it rated. Now, Another issue I'll be cutting off in the past in this segment is the fact that I have videos out there, or one video out there where I first was calling for Kyle Christie to call me, where I got hairlines from different clinics worldwide that I'm critiquing with the multi-hair grafts, with the plugginess and the bad angles, bad directions. I thought long and hard about that video before I even started producing it, before I started recording it and putting it together and sketching it out. And yeah. I realized that, first off, I wanted most of those results to be as anonymous as possible. So I didn't include faces. I cropped, and I was very careful. In a lot of those cases, I actually flipped them out around horizontally, so that it would be more difficult for people to recognize them if they did see them before. So I went to a lot of extremes on that. And it can be argued, well, you're critiquing people that are happy with their results. And that's true, I am. But the reason for that is because it's an education at what not to do. It's not a matter of poor growth and someone's happy about it and I'm letting them know about it. It's a matter of no one's talking about this. And these results are being presented as what people should be aspiring to achieve when it's something that they should be aspiring to avoid. Right. And I did struggle with it because I know that a lot of these patients are probably happy with it. There are some YouTubers out there where I used a hairline from a couple of them. They're happy with it. They're talking about it. I think it could have been better. I know it could have been better because I know that the way that the procedures were performed was no different than what was done 20 years ago. And that's a crime in my opinion, and it needed to be said. So I take that as an exception to the rule, but in general, I don't think that if someone's saying they're happy with their result, that people should be coming out and slamming them, especially if they're anonymous. I'm full face.
That's
who I am.
That's what I was about to say. You're also providing an education. You are actually a true expert in this field. You're not just some guy sitting on his laptop, some millennial that has an opinion. Yeah. You know exactly what you're looking for. So it is different in that respect. Plus, you're willing to put your name to the critique. And that is, I think, a very important aspect of what you do. But listen, man,
Joe,
go ahead.
Joe, let me ask Joe a question real quick. Joe, what's the follow-up with Kyle Christie? I mean, what's his next steps? Is he going to get that repaired? What's he doing? Do you know?
We're talking. This is going to be different than Maria Fowler, I think, as far as how this is done. Maria, she had her procedure, and she's talking about it before the procedure, and all of it's pretty much in near real time, which is fine. But we might be doing this a bit differently. But he's going to be getting it repaired. He wants to get it repaired. I mean, he's in a bad. I mean, look, Kyle's a good kid. I like Kyle, and I thought it was really brave of him to actually reach out to me after I basically dragged him through the mud with his hairline, and he was like, "You're spot on. You talked about everything that I knew was wrong with my hairline, and so yeah, I'm happy to work with you. I'm happy to use you as my guide to getting this fixed up. So we're taking it slow. It is going to happen. And when that's revealed, I have no idea. I mean, part of it's up to him. I want him to do this at his own pace, like Maria did. Maria was excited. She's like, I want to tell the world. Great. Okay. I might have to, hold him back a little bit because maybe it's not the right time to do it, as it's happening. I'm sure that whatever choice he makes, if he listens to me with these choices, it'll be far better than what he has, because what he has right now, I'm still in shock at what he's got. I really am. I mean, just to have that.
Fixed, though. It can be fixed, though, is what I'm asking.
It can, but it's not easy. I mean, cases like his, is, one of the things I've always said is you can always lower a hairline, but you can't easily take it back up. You can't raise a hairline. You can do it, but it's never, ever a one-shot fix. It's going to be at least 2 surgeries for him, and he knows that. Right. He knows that. He's not happy about it, but he knows it, and he's accepted it. He's a smart kid. and
Okay.
he understands what his position is now. Thanks for asking about that.
All right, man. Well, listen, we're gonna let you go and take one more call before we call it a day, even though we started late. But here's what I would like you to. Oh, Jesus, where's my camera? Here's what I would like you to take away from this. It is possible that you're going to improve, and is it possible that you're going to improve to enough where you're going to actually be really happy? So that possibility is there. So don't let anything that we say, make you any more anxiety ridden. But we have to be honest as far as how every doctor reacts to your particular situation during this time period at the 9-month mark.
Yeah. They got a playbook they go by.
They have a playbook, and it's a very similar play. Everyone has a very similar playbook, and that's just the way that it is.
I'll say this, and sorry to interrupt, Spencer, but I think that in your position right now, just take stock in the fact that you're not done. You're 11 months. How far out?
9 months.
All right.
9 months.
9 months. Yeah, you're not done.
And you're also not unhappy.
Yeah, and you're not unhappy. You've had, if I recall, your improvement's quite substantial.
Then again, I'm not where a lot of other guys I've seen online are at 9 months, so that's where I am unhappy. But then again, I was in Norwood 5A, Norwood 6 before this, so I can't complain where I'm at now.
Remind me how many grafts you had? You had 4?
Like 3,500. Yeah,
and that was only to the vertex, right? Not into the crown.
It was like nuzzling up to the crown. Like it almost went to the crown. It didn't go quite in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think based on what I remember of your photos, and forgive me, I don't have them in front of me. I think that you're on your way to a better result. How much better? I just can't say.
Is it because I have so much real estate to cover? You think that's why it's taken so much longer? Because I have like literally almost my entire head. You think maybe it's the amount of real estate I have? That
always comes into play. I mean, you're talking about supply versus demand.
Well, visually, it comes into play, and the way that the grafts are distributed, that comes into play.
But you also have to understand, and this will be my final comment on this. You have to understand that. This is something I noticed with guys that are really bald, especially if they've been bald for several years. It's almost like we forget what it's like to have hair, and so we don't realize that when we have bedhead, it looks far worse than someone that's not lost their hair that has bedhead. Bedhead looks bad on everyone. Makes everyone's hair look thinner. So if you were bald and you had only 3,500 grafts, I do say only because that's not a lot of hair for the amount of hair loss you had, and you got bedhead, no one would be happy. You have to style it. You have to experiment with it. Find the length of hair. This is a big deal. Not many people talk about it. No one talks about this. I do. You have to find a sweet spot for length, because the length, it's a funny thing, but you can start with a shaved head and grow your hair out to, say, 10 inches long, and you'll find variations of aesthetic satisfaction every 3 months as it grows out. Some length, like it'll look great, and then it'll grow, say, another inch longer, and it looks super thin, and it grows another inch longer, and suddenly it looks like you got a much fuller head of hair. Another inch longer, and maybe a slightly different cut. I mean, it's just, you got to find that balance, because you're trying to maximize the aesthetic of something that is really an illusion, right. And it's the style that you choose. You don't have high density because just the number of grafts that you had over such a large area dictates mathematically there's not a lot of density. So you have to work with it. You gotta figure it out, and you can improve the aesthetic overall with the right hairstyle and the right length.
It's kind of like manscaping your pubes. It's about the illusion. You're creating an illusion there, my man. But look,
only Spencer would make that comparison.
But look, man, I wish you the best of luck. Look, in general, you are much better off than you were. So try to enjoy that fact and just give it time. That's it.
All right. I'll do that.
All right, man. Good luck. Take care.
Thanks for calling,
thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Last phone call for the night. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? And if you could turn down your speakers, that'd be great.
Last phone call for the night.
Hey, man, you're on the air. I could hear myself talking.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
How you doing?
All right,
Nick.
How are you, Nick?
Hello, Nick.
Where are you calling?
Michael.
Michael, where are you calling from?
I'm phoning from the UK.
Well, welcome.
I'm from Ireland. I'm from Dublin originally, but lived in England a long time, you know.
Well, welcome to the show, man. What can we do for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a topical call because I went to Turkey about approaching 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And had an FUE 4200 grafts. Yeah, so
how'd it go?
I'm actually very happy with it. Went well.
Oh, that's great.
Good for you.
But yeah, but it was kind of I didn't know much about the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was taken in by Longevita. Have you heard of them? They're kind of health tourist.
Longevita is a clearinghouse that acts as a broker between patient and doctor.
Yeah. I mean, I took a real risk because all the doctor did was just draw the hairline. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just a bizarre watching you guys and speaking at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and then
yeah, I mean,
then just talk. Make believe you're just on the phone.
Okay, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the way, great show. Love you guys. You're both fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man.
Love the game. It's the whole thing is just comes across. Well, not comes across. It is so genuine compared to, especially as you said. I totally agree with the UK. What goes on there, man, is just fucking crazy. Yeah.
Well,
crazy.
I appreciate you saying that, but here's the good news, and I want to hear more of what you have to say. But you are one of the rare guys that call into this program who have done what you've done, the way that you did it.
I wouldn't do it again.
Who are happy? Okay. Oh, so let's talk about your experience a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't do it again because number one, I think Joe has often talked about. The more you do it, the more chance you're fucking up the second time and the third time, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
this guy does listen.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, I sent you some photos. I don't know whether I emailed you some photos. I don't know whether you received them or not.
When was this?
Yeah. Oh, today. I think possibly I'm sending it to the wrong email. I'm not sure. It's admin, hairmentor.com. Yeah, would that be the correct?
Yeah, it would be. I haven't had a chance to really look through my emails today because I've been on the.
Maybe next time I can phone up. I have sent you some photos, yeah, because obviously it'd be a lot. It's better for you to see what my results, yeah, rather than me just talking about it.
What's your first name again?
Michael. So the email is Doody Michael. Oh, I'm going to give it over there.
Yeah.
You don't have to give it up, but your name is in there, so I'll put Michael.
Yeah. Surname first, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing today.
Yeah. So all the doctors did was draw the hairline and the text did everything else. Yeah.
So how did you feel? How did you feel about that when you were sold the hair transplant? Were you told that this was going to happen?
Yeah. To be honest, I did. Some of the guys who went didn't.
Right.
Longevita are very, to use a phrase, economical with the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually very well said.
Well said. Yeah.
Which is, as you know, even some of the more reputable companies, I think, are like that as well. Yeah.
I would say you're correct.
They're not alone in that. Yeah. But so I actually spoke to some guys who'd been there and they seemed quite happy. Yeah. So on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's still a big risk going to somewhere where it's going to be too, But they weren't like two chicks who were doing Botox and then decided they want to do hair transplant. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well,
they were nurses. They were trained. They had been trained properly. Yeah.
Well, obviously they were trained properly because you wouldn't be calling in saying that you had a good result.
I know.
I'm so happy. Yeah. I mean, dude, you fucking dodged a bullet, man.
I know. Tell me about him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, to be honest, it got me out of a hole, man, because I was getting really pissed off. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you.
I could handle the actually recession on the front. Yeah. Well, I couldn't handle when I had the full horseshoe look.
How old are you?
Yeah. I'm 55.
You're 55. Okay.
Yeah,
so I mean, I have to say.
50,
yeah, I have to say that Okay, so you're about 2 years. You're 2 years older than I am. So
I'm a bit older than you now.
Yeah, it's unusual though for to get a caller your age who actually went over to Turkey to get it done. Usually it's younger guys.
Yeah, I mean, I will be honest. There was obviously a financial consideration. Yeah,
sure.
To be honest, I couldn't drop 20 grand. You know what I'm saying?
Look, if I thought that I can get a CLS AMG Mercedes for a quarter of the price that it would cost here in the U.S. someplace else, I would do that. It makes sense, and that's the way this is being sold to people. So I completely understand why anyone would travel and get something done like this, because they are made to believe that you can get the exact same, if not better, results for a much cheaper price. You happen to be one guy that did that.
I didn't research properly.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, you don't have to think about it because you already lucked out. You're a guy that didn't do any research, walked in there blindly, paid hardly anything, I'm sure, and came away with a good result.
I'll tell you how much. I'll tell you what I paid. I paid £1,750. Yeah.
Holy shit! And you probably got a
4 years ago.
Probably got a blowjob for that too.
That was 4 years, January the 6th. Yeah.
Wow.
Coming up, yeah. And 3 nights, a hotel, yeah.
Were you on the Asian side or the European side?
Oh, geez, I can't remember.
Sorry, that was assuming Istanbul. Did you go to Istanbul or Ankara?
Istanbul, yeah. Dr. Resat was the guy's name, the doctor's name. You probably never heard of him, yeah?
R-E-S-A-T?
R-E-S-A-T, yeah.
Yeah, I know the name, yeah.
Well, so tell us about the experience while we have you on the line, and also where you were, and tell us about your results.
Well, I suppose I was in. You mean as in what Norwood I was?
As what Norwood you were, and how many grafts?
Yeah, Norwood 5.
Yeah.
Norwood 5. Ooh, yeah, but with a good density. Yeah, with good donor.
Yeah, that's great.
Definitely good donor. Not the thickest caliber hair, so not the thickest diameter, but that's probably average. But a really good density and a good bounce to the hair as well. Yeah. Which I think helps. You know what I'm saying? It's a bit of a bounce to the hair.
It helps a lot. I mean, the better textured hair you have, the more bounce you have to it, or the more wave you have to it, the better the results are going to be if the grafts are placed in the right direction.
You had 4,200 grafts?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got your photos, by the way. Your email had gone to my spam box for some reason.
Okay. I do have actually better pics, which I'll probably send you another time with a high definition camera with a DSLR. They were just taken on my phone.
That would be ideal because I'm gonna try to show these photos on. I'm going to try to show them on screen.
You can show the pre ones. Yeah, the ones with the.
Your face is kind of visible in some of these. Is that okay? Do you mind?
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right. Because I'm looking at these.
No one I know is going to be looking at.
No one he knows is going to watch the ball show.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't see any result photos with the DSLR. I just see the pre-op photos and then right after surgery. Do you have any high quality result photos?
I'm not sure. I think there may be one. Hang on. So you do have some post-op ones there as well, though, do you? But as you say, with the camera.
Yeah. I've got the ones right after surgery and just in surgery. I'm going to see. I got to minimize this. Sorry, this is kind of an ordeal.
I got to walk. I got to walk away. I'm starving. I get a bite right now before I just pass out. So I'll be right back.
I think we should. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Let's see. I gotta find this computer. Okay, so I'm going to open this.
I'm pleased. I do appreciate it. It probably doesn't come across on the.
What I'm doing here, I got to set up a new folder for you. So when I share the screen, it's not showing everything else. There we go. Okay, so let me pull this. Save it. So this is always a process.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the guys doing it before. Yeah.
There we go. So there's one, and I think he sent like 8 images.
Yeah, I will send them, because I do have some DSLR ones as well, yeah. but I have to root those out.
I got my opinion on here. I'm going to save my opinion until it's actually up on the screen.
Hold on for a second. So you guys have never seen, if you haven't seen these things, these are called Uncrustables. They do not advertise on this program. They are frozen peanut butter and jelly sandwiches without the crust. They are unfucking believable. First of all, most people would say any 50-year-old man or 53-year-old man eating these has to be a stoner. I'm not. They're just delicious. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. There's me at post-op. Looks like some progress. And, okay, that's enough. All right, so let me minimize this. Thanks for your patience, everyone. And share screen and sounds. All right, so let me see if I can
Unbelievable.
view large icons. Here we go. All right, so this is before.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hang on. Yeah, I can see that one. That's before. So what is that for Norwood 5, isn't it?
You're a that was a diffused Norwood 6.
Is it? That's a Norwood 6, is it? Okay.
Yeah, diffused. I mean, the top of your scalp. It looks like you actually had a fair amount of hair on the top. You grew it really long, which makes it look even thinner. And this is immediate post.
No, that was pre obviously. Pre-post. Yeah, pre.
No, it's about to switch over on the screen. Hang on, there you go.
That's that is the obviously. I knocked my head a couple of times. Yeah, that's where the scab is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that wasn't that. I knocked that against a second taxi. Yeah.
It's going to take a second for you to see the pictures in real time. It's not in real time. There's a delay. So.
Yeah. So I'm just enlarging this. Give it a second.
Doesn't look great, does it?
There we go.
There you go.
All right, and then take this back down. And here we go with what we got today. And give it a second.
Which one do you want to go for next?
I don't mind saying this is a hell of a turnaround.
That's now, yeah. That's last week I took that photo, yeah. I had the DSLR one, which I've sent to you.
Yeah, I was hoping for something like that because these are great photos showing that.
I do have a couple.
Dude, you look like fucking James Bond, man.
And the coverage, but we can't see the details.
It looks good in reality. Take my word for it. It looks good in real life. People say to me all the time, "Jesus, what have you done, man?" Yeah.
I have to tell you honestly, even just from the image, and I can't really see it closely. Even the design with the widow's peak is pretty. I don't know. I would say it's pretty sophisticated.
I'm looking at this image now that's coming up.
That's before, obviously. Look at that fucking head, man. Get a
this is like the worst look that balding guys can have with your hair long all the way around. And you're desperately holding on to the 5 hairs on the top by growing them long.
I didn't know whether I'd send that or not. I thought, fuck it, I'd send it anyway for the laugh. I thought I'd give you a laugh anyway, nothing else. Yeah.
and then you turn into Basil disposition. Look at this. Holy smokes. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah. That's slightly damp, because it's kind of coming back slightly damp, so I could show that.
Yeah, and I mean, I would see some of the aspects that Joe may critique if he was being really, really critical, but I will tell you that there is no human on earth who would not be happy with that turnaround. Yeah. Absolutely. You really dodged a fucking bullet, my man. You really lucked out.
And it does translate into real life. Take my word for it. People say to me all the time, "Oh, your hair looks great," whatever. Yeah. But I'm going to need a crown done. That's another reason why I'm ringing. So I'm shitting myself going for the second one, yeah, and then getting it fucked up. So I'm not going to a tech clinic. You'll be pleased.
Well, I'll tell you. I think that the comparison, and then we can talk about what you want to talk about. But the comparison here is that before picture that I just came back from. You look like a guy that you look like You said you're 55 now. You look like a 55-year-old guy living in his mom's basement. Now you look like. I mean, I gotta tell you, man, you look fantastic.
Handsome, yeah.
I love this look.
Yeah.
I love this look on you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: why do you think that you need to get your crown done?
Well, you can see the picture there yourself. It's not totally covered, is it? 4,200 grafts would not cover wouldn't give me full coverage. Yeah, so
you're 55.
That's why should I? I'm 55.
You're 55. Yeah. Why now? It's like you just turned around. You just. I mean, it looks like you knocked 15 years off yourself.
Yeah, I have. In reality, it's true. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, no, no, completely. So you don't see the crown. People probably don't talk about it. It looks good. I'll pull the crown up because you've got you're not bald in the crown. You're not slick.
But with topic, if I put topic, it sort of half covers it anyway. You know.
Yeah.
There's no topic on any of these pictures at all. Yeah.
Then keep using topic. You're done. You win. Don't risk it.
You see, if you zoom into that, see those hairs they're actually transplanted hairs.
Okay.
Which obviously, yeah, but they didn't obviously wasn't dense enough to give matching, to match the rest of the transplant.
You put a little topic or nanogen or whatever product you want to use.
Or Heratin.
Heratin. I mean, you're done, man. Why go through the hassle of it?
Don't risk it. Don't risk it. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean, holy shit. I mean, you look like fucking James Bond or something.
In fact, what you can do, go get a tighter cut. Get the sides and the back cut tighter. And that will reduce the contrast, but because you got dark hair, right? And dark hair and fair skin, that's the worst combination. So the way that you win,
coming through there, there's gray coming through there, yeah.
And that's to your benefit because it breaks up the visuals. So get a tighter cut in the back and the sides. That'll reduce the contrast of such long hair against a thin crown.
And the fact that you don't have any gray hair. That's your natural hair color at 55. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, you look at me now. It's hard to tell, but I'm actually completely salt and pepper, and I'm younger than you. You had a incredible result. I mean, if someone wants to be really picky, you can pick some things out, but I mean, an incredible turnaround, and you look really good. That's a small area to cover right there, relatively. It's not like you have a very deep set crown, and it's coming down all the way down to your back. Joe's right, man. I mean, do not fuck with it.
Just leave it.
You won.
Yeah,
just leave it.
Don't risk it. Don't risk the donor. Don't risk the donor getting messed up, you mean, or what? Just the whole thing.
Yeah.
Everything. Right now, your donor looks like it hasn't been touched. I mean, at least at the length that you have your hair growing, at least from that picture.
And it's like this.
Yeah.
You could pick, a good clinic, and you could get a really nice result. But I will also tell you that if you're going to go for the crown, you would need to get, if we're going for coverage that would really make a difference to where you look like you might be slightly thinning in the crown, you're looking at another 2,500 grafts minimum.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I got. One quote actually, from the clinic. They said 2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe fuck it, maybe just leave it.
And if that doesn't work out, you're done. You got no more options.
That's right.
Because that much more hair, that's 6,700 grafts via FUE. That's the upper end of what. Well, but if you got another 2,500 on top of that, that's the upper end of what
of course,
you can really push to the max. So. You win, buddy. Hats off to you. You win.
If I were you, honestly, I mean, I know, like, I let my hair grow a little bit longer. It gets unruly. It's hard to, keep your hair a little tighter. The front looks incredible. Mid-anterior scalp looks incredible. Your donor, from what I can see, still looks. There's no moth-eaten effect because you have the right density hair. You won the lottery, my man.
You don't want another surgery and have this happen.
Yeah. I mean,
just playing my new toys.
If I did get the crown, I'm not going to, but if I did just a question. If I did get the crown done, I mean, could that actually affect the front? You know, the blood flow and all that, or not really? It wouldn't actually.
I mean, it actually.
I've heard of people having different areas, and it's affecting an area which is not even adjacent.
It's actually possible to have shock loss just from the tumescent anesthesia and everything that's injected into your scalp. Doesn't mean it's going to be permanent, but you could end up looking worse, even if they didn't transplant into that area for a while. And then you're going to deal with that anxiety. Look, I'm going to tell you something. As a 53-year-old man, you know, peer to peer, I paint my head. And I can tell you this. I can tell you this. I am so fucking happy. Like, I walk out into the street. I'm going to give you an instance. This is not to sound obnoxious at all. I was out in Hollywood last night at a restaurant. A lot of young people in Hollywood. Sitting across, I was with somebody, but I was sitting across from a table of young women. Maybe the oldest was like 28. And I would say I wasn't getting attention because food was flying out of my mouth. Let's put it that way. And they were looking in my direction as a 53-year-old man.
For that moisturizer you use.
Exactly. But the point is, you know, I recognize these things as not like, oh, I'm some sort of fucking stud or whatever. The fact that by making the right decisions in my life, I've still given myself, I still have options.
You're still in the game. You're still in the game.
Yeah, I'm still kind of in the game. Even though I may not use that game, it's still there. And
it's just nice to be in it, though, isn't it?
It's not terrible to be in it. You are in that fucking game, man. And they weren't looking at the back of my head and checking out the fact that I got a paint job. You know?
I saw you in another video. I think you're advertising doing something, but you looked even better actually outside. Yeah.
Oh, outside. Well, thank you.
In this context, you did, man. You look really good. You had a coat on, some sort of. I think it must have been winter time. You had a big overcoat on, or I think you were advertising something or some show or something. Yeah.
Oh, you mean
Spencer? You want to share this with us?
What you talking about? Was it a documentary? I was wearing an overcoat.
I just googled because I just happened to Google this.
Oh, you mean it was a jacket, like a sports jacket?
No, it was like an overcoat, like a woolen overcoat. Yeah.
Oh, well, that was like.
What are you talking about? I can't.
That was probably 20 years ago.
That long? No. This is quite recent. Yeah, quite recent. I'll look it up again and.
A woolen overcoat.
Anyway.
Now, and the only time I was ever in a woolen overcoat, I was in a documentary for Discovery Channel many years ago, and that's very hard to find if it's there. But I mean, I was young. I was like 31 years old. So did I have gray hair in this one?
It was that. The hair looks like it does now.
Dave in the chat room goes, as far as I know, Spencer doesn't have legs.
The hair was grayer. Okay.
Grayer, man. The hair was grayer.
No, the hair is gray. Yeah. In person, it's funny. These lights make my hair look dark. Yeah. And
Well, so it couldn't have been that far back, is what I'm saying, because your hair was very grey in it.
Oh no, so it was probably like the last 2 years or so. It may have been at a conference.
Some sort of conference, you're right, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's definitely recent, because you look like you do now, basically, yeah? But yeah, you look good, man, yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right,
man. The show is brilliant. I mean, you're both fantastic. You're helping a lot of guys, and I do agree about these. You get these nasty fucking people on these, these webs, these hair restoration, all the rest of it, yeah? You know what I'm talking about.
Well,
and some of the nasty people, the comments they make about these poor guys.
Oh, yeah.
I've been on, and I always try to encourage guys, and I never say anything nasty. It's way out of order. Yeah,
it is way out of order. But
I totally agree with you both on that one. Yeah,
you're also an adult. So I mean.
Yeah, true. So they're different. Yeah, true. Yeah, as you said, these millennials. Yeah, and they're just spoiled brats. A lot of them. Yeah.
So,
hey, Michael. One of the members in the chat room, Bacatero Lion, he wants to know if you're taking finasteride. Great question. Should have asked you that. Are you taking finasteride?
No, I never took anything. No.
And
I know you guys say I should have and all that shit. I mean, I always understood finasteride is for if you still had hair, a lot of hair. You know what I'm saying? I didn't.
No.
It's for the donor as well. Yeah. It could stick in the donor. Yeah.
Well, your crown wasn't completely slick bald, and so any hairs that are miniaturized there, that can turn those around. Not to mention, even if you were slick bald, it can actually make your the size of your crown reduced, because it can kind of make the perimeter shrink, and that's another benefit. So, it doesn't hurt to talk to your doctor about getting on finasteride. Maybe go to Ogravia Center and check them out, because they deal with this kind of thing. Not an official endorsement, but I know that they're pretty popular in the UK. And yeah, talk about your options for finasteride and see if that's something that can help you out. Because if you can make that crown area smaller, then it's less concealer you got to use, and you'll be even happier. So
there's also a part of me, and I'm just going to be honest here with this guy, that if you're not actively miniaturizing that you know of, if you're not actively shedding, and you
I never see any hairs. I never see any hairs anymore.
Yeah, and you're 4 years out of the transplant, and you don't believe that your crown has gotten any bigger. Once you start medication,
Ben, 4 years. That's 4 years out of a transplant. 4 years away from 60, man. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, part of me. But part of me is, don't make me think about that, dude. Don't make me think. But part of me is believes that I am a huge fan of finasteride. But sometimes when you start using the drug, you may go through a shed, or you may experience adverse side effects. I also think that if you're going to have a hair transplant, it's my opinion as a non-physician that most people should be on the drug. I also believe that Joe's point is very valid, that you actually may reverse the miniaturization in that area and grow a lot of hair back. You don't know. But But there is the potential to have an effluvium or a telogen effluvium that you are not going to be happy with. So if you are not actively shedding, if you don't see anything miniaturizing, if you don't see the bald spot growing, it's my personal view, and I don't know if Joe, I don't mean to contradict you, Joe, but I just wanted to give him my advice as well.
I quit.
Yeah. I would say don't fuck with medication if you don't need it.
Yeah. There is that.
You know? Like, that's just the way that I feel about it. I mean, Joe's advice is good advice, and it's very valid, but I also think, like, unless you see something actively happening, like you said, you're 4 years or 5 years away from 60, I mean, you always have time to pop that pill.
But if you do have a telogen effluvium, just go get a hair transplant. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think I know that. I think I was talking to Dr. Alan Bauman at the robotic conference. I think that's the one. It looks like an overcoat, but it's actually a blue sports jacket. But yeah, that's
Is it? Oh, okay, maybe it just looked. Yeah. That's right. You're talking to a doctor.
That's what I was thinking of.
I was talking to your doctor. Yeah, and actually, you could see how gray my hair actually is in that video.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I look like in person. Yeah.
Yeah, you look good, man. You look good. When was that?
That was 2 years ago.
Exactly. I thought it was quite recent. Yeah. I just, for some reason, I had you in a note.
I mean, the hair looks the same, except that the hair looks the same, but it's gray. Very gray.
That's what I'm saying. It actually was funny because I heard you say that on this show that your hair was grayer.
Yeah.
And I actually saw it. I could see it. Actually, he's got it right. It's a cool gray. It looks good.
Well, thanks, man. Chicks dig it. What am I going to do? Old broads love me too. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. We're gonna call it a night, dude. And by the way, I'm so happy for you. Your hair transplant looks fucking fantastic. You dodged a bullet.
Thank you. I know. It got me out of the hole, Spencer, because I was getting really depressed with this shit.
Well, I'm really happy for you, man. But don't have hair greed. You look great.
Exactly. Good advice.
Yeah. All right, man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the call.
Okay, Joe. All the best. Thanks.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now that's a happy ending.
You got to say cheers to these British guys.
Cheers. That's a happy ending.
It is.
That is like the guy went in sight unseen. He went through one of these
mills,
referral places to a mill, and he happened to have the right team that day who were skilled enough to know what the fuck they were doing.
Or they just happened to luck into doing a good job.
Yeah, but I would say that, in general.
Dream.
Oh, just stop for a second. And it should be. That's weird. Are we back?
Live stream offline.
Looks like we're back now.
Yeah, that was weird. Okay.
Yeah, it looked like I noticed that the software just went yellow for a second and then went red, which means we're live. So I don't know if this is going to be in 2 parts now.
No, it looks like it's consistent.
Okay.
We'll see.
But, and again, this is not a critique. What was his name?
Michael. I think it was Michael. Yeah.
You look fantastic.
You look marvelous, darling.
And that is no bullshit. But, you know, there are some telltale signs where you kind of maybe know that someone has been doing this for a long time. Made a couple of, there could be some adjustments made. But the reality is no woman, no man, nobody in this earth would think that you had a hair transplant.
Agreed.
I mean, unless you know what you're looking for.
I mean, that's the kind of result where, there are the things I can nitpick. I'm not even going to bother.
No, there's no point.
Dude, you
live
win.
your fucking life. You won, and he looks great. And you can see, even from the eyes up, I mean, there's no doubt, looking at the pictures that he sent before, absolutely takes 10 years off his life, off his looks. And
he doesn't look like someone living in his parents' basement.
Yeah, and he looks handsome.
So
he's got it going on. So good for you, man. All right, guys, let's call it a day. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will not be taking any more calls. You should have called in earlier, guys. Not calling now.
Well, we're already a 2.5 hour show today, so I'm hungry.
Not really. We're actually 2 hours. 2 hours and 4
See,
minutes.
you're contradicting me again, man. What's up with that?
I don't know. We got here late. All right, Joe, why don't you shout out your website and all the guys that are actually the websites of those who are embedding this broadcast?
Well, that would be hairlossexperiences.com, primarily a UK-based forum. Great guy that runs it, but you know what? It's the interwebs, guys, so anyone on the planet can get a hold of it, and thankfully, a lot of them do. Great platform because it's a lot of great information, patients sharing their experiences, and you don't have asswipes critiquing people that are happy. It's a good place to go. You've also got bellycapelli.forumfree.it. Yes, it's a long URL, but you can find it on my website, hairtransplantmentor.com/forums, where I have a list of forums that I think are good forums to visit. Belly Capelli is run by just a guy. That's what he calls himself. He's just a guy that is also a repair patient. I've known him a long time, and he has had one hell of a journey himself, and he's been fortunate enough to be able to set up probably, I think, the most popular European-based forum. It is primarily Italian, but they have a really far reach and great moderation, great guys. That's bellycapelli.forumfree.it.
Your website, please?
Oh, my website, hairtransplantmentor.com. You get to see my own hair transplant journey, which started so long ago. Pretty much the first, the earlier iteration, the first near real-time documentation of not just one hair transplant, but nine hair transplants over the course of far too many years. That's hairtransplantmentor.com. You also get to see the list of doctors that I am fortunate enough to work with them behind the scenes, and got a great bit of information about each doc. You can check them out, hairtransplantmentor.com.
Our websites, thebaldtruth.com for archives of this broadcast. Check out thebaldtruth.com. We have been putting them up very slowly, but they're going to be on there. Also, subscribe to thebaldtruth.com. It absolutely helps our cause. We do not send you any type of advertising. The only thing you're going to get in your inbox is going to be an alert that there's a new segment, a new show, or something that we decide to write. We can actually start doing some more writing on the blog itself. So that's it. No advertising for anything. You don't have to worry about that. So sign up on thebaldtruth.com. And also, I would suggest, if you can, to subscribe to our iTunes podcast. It's audio. I know a lot of you guys are watching or listening to the show live, or whatever it is, or watching us on Facebook, or on YouTube, or through the Guys from Queens Network. But subscribe to iTunes as well. That absolutely helps the broadcast. And there was one time, believe it or not, when The Bald Truth is actually a featured broadcast on iTunes and on, what's the Apple version that is no longer in existence? I mean, the Android version, Microsoft version.
Zune.
It may have been that, but we were on the front page of both. So there was a point in this broadcast. I think this is even before Joe was on, or maybe when Joe just got on, when we were on the front page of iTunes as a popular podcast.
And then Joe came on board.
Yeah, no, but you know, it's just the fact. It was just the fact that you know, it was interesting to iTunes. We want to pique their interest again. So while we have a lot of downloads every month, just subscribe. Take the time to download, even if you don't listen to it and you just you're listening to it live. Just do it. It's not a big deal. You can always get rid of it.
Easy to do.
Yeah. Also, everyone who's listening on iTunes Radio, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, thank you so much. Check out the Guys from Queens Network at guysfromqueens.com. They syndicate this broadcast through all those resources for us, and they have a great lineup of broadcasts themselves. That's guysfromqueens.com. Let's see, the American Hair Loss Association. That's AmericanHairLoss.org. International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons is IAHRS.org. Read the site. See what the IHRS is all about. Realize that the message of the organization is surgery is your last resort. But if you're going to have surgery, at least you're finding a safe place to start to do your research. There's not a doctor out there that performs any type of surgery that doesn't have unhappy patients. That's cosmetic surgery. Recognize that and realize that you're going to find unhappy patients with just about everyone that you research. Did we lose the feed again? For a second? It's back. No? It's back right now. That was weird.
It's back.
And I guess that's it. BaldTruthTalk.com is our message forum. Thank you guys for making Bald Truth Talk the most trafficked hair loss message forum in the world that has no back end, no PMing system. And that's a big deal. So I want to thank you guys for making that happen. But with that said, stay off the forums. Don't drive yourself crazy going on there every day. Go a couple of times a week. Give us some traffic. That's great. Get some information. Share your experiences. Terrific. Also know that anytime you read anything on the message forum, read it with a grain of salt. It's coming from anonymous sources. Unless you know where the information is coming from, do not trust it. Period. Someone's posting anything about anybody anonymously, do not trust it. Ever. This is the fucking internet. People can write whatever the fuck they want about anybody. Any doctor, they can guide you in a direction. They could be a salesperson for all you fucking know. Just realize that. Anyway, I could talk about a lot of things, but we are going to call it a night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, be strong. God bless. And thank you so much for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, you know, down and out about their haircuts.
Sure.
I lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.
That's heavy.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good, man. And you know, the funny thing is that I've learned to overcome it. And I've had a much, like,